Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to my latest video. As I mentioned last time, I am covering late round players that I'm targeting in my fantasy football drafts, and today's video is going to be on the running back position. Before I dive into those players, really quick, this is based off the half point PPR ADP on Fantasy Pros as of today. As we know, as practices come, injury reports come, players get signed, these ADPs will drop and rise. So we'll have to see where all these guys are at as more drafts start to kick off over this next month. With that being said, the players that are qualified for my list today, they have to be outside the top 36 running backs. So basically, these guys are getting drafted as RB4s, RB5s right now in 12-team leagues. So yeah, let's just go ahead and dive right into my video. The first player on the list is going to be Samaje Perine. He went from Cincinnati Bengals last year, where he was a good complement to Joe Mixon, and then he ended up starting a couple games last year when Mixon was out of the lineup, and he's been proven that he's a quality backup running back in this league. Now, he has joined the Denver Broncos, and the reason why I like him is for a few reasons. He's locked in as the backup running back to Javonte Williams. Now, Javonte Williams is coming off that major injury that he had last year, and there's a good chance we'll have to see. Javonte said earlier this month that he feels like he'll be ready for the opener, but we also can't forget J.K. Dobbins was saying this at the same time last year, and he tore his ACL in the season prior, that he wasn't ready to start the year. So if Javonte Williams is not ready for the opening game, Samaje Perine's locked in as the Broncos starting running back, assuming they don't go sign a veteran off the free agency market. So that means if you can get him as a RB4, you're talking about a guy that can be basically an RB2 in your fantasy lineup until Javonte Williams is ready to handle the full workload. Because you also got to keep in mind, even if Javonte Williams is ready to play, he's coming off a major injury, so it wouldn't be smart for the Broncos to give him a full workload. So you're going to see Samaje Perine to begin the year maybe as a starter if Williams isn't ready, and then even when Williams is ready, they're probably I could see him dominating the touches, and then Williams starting to get more of the touches out of the backfield as he gets himself closer to being 100% healthy from that injury that he suffered last year. And then another thing I like about it is Sean Payton is going to be focused on elevating this rushing attack for the Broncos, and they invested a lot of money into this offensive line, so I think they're going to really push the running game, try to take off the pressure off of Russell Wilson, and that's going to be benefit for Williams. But if, like I mentioned, if he's not ready, Perine's going to be locked in as the starter, and you're getting him as a RB4 right now with the ADP, so that's a guy to definitely have on your radar when you get in your fantasy football drafts. Moving on to the second guy on my list, going with Charbonnet, the rookie running back for the Seattle Seahawks. I definitely could see his ADP rising as we get closer to the season, because this is a backfield where it's going to be him, it's going to be Charbonnet and Walker and dominate the touches out of that backfield. Now, he's a second round pick, so most people do know this. If a player gets drafted in the second or third round, more times than not, unless they are viewed as a developmental player, they're going to be viewed as a guy that can contribute as a rookie in some type of role and fashion. So with that being said, as a running back, the running back position is obviously this offseason has been a much debated thing as far as where they get drafted, how much money you pay in to them. But with that being said, if a running back's going in the first 3 rounds of the draft, more than likely the team's going to want to use them, right, on that rookie contract. So he's going to more likely start off like maybe close to a 50-50 role, I believe, because he's going to be splitting reps with Kenneth Walker. But honestly, as the season goes along, I think he's going to end up seeing more touches because he's more effective as a 3-down back compared to Kenneth Walker. So he's going to be on the field during third downs because of his pass protection ability and his ability to be a receiving back within that Seahawks offense. Now, another thing that's beneficial to him, he's joining the Seahawks, and we all know Pete Carroll loves to run the ball, right? But as I talked about in the quarterback video when I talked in the previous video I did with Geno Smith, how I think with the addition of Jackson Smith-Njigba, with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, that's like more. I think we're going to see more 3 wide receiver sets from Seattle this year. And with that being said, if they're going to be going to more 3 wide receiver sets, they're going to want to open up more of the passing game. So that's why I think at the end of the day, Charbonnet could have these games where he's going to be on the field more than Walker because of his receiving ability. Moving into the third guy I'm looking at later in my later rounds of the draft, this is more of a, I guess you can view him more as a handcuff type of pick this year, but I'm going with Tyler Allgeier, the Falcons running back. Now, obviously, they did draft Bijan Robinson in the first round, and Bijan Robinson's, because if you're going to take a running back, not only in the first round these days in the NFL, but if you're going to take a running back inside the top 10, yeah, you're going to give him the touches as much as he can handle in his rookie season. But with that being said, Tyler Allgeier's situation is dependent on Robinson, but also Cordero Patterson. But why I still like to target Allgeier in the later rounds of the draft is because Arthur Smith does love to run the ball. So he's going to have a role in the offense, because what's awesome about Bijan Robinson is he can be effective as a receiving back. So I think this is just, an outside opinion. Obviously, I don't have any sources within the Falcons organization, but I would not be surprised if we're going to see Allgeier and Bijan Robinson on the field at times throughout the year, because Bijan Robinson, they can kind of line him up in the slot, move him in the motion, get him and Allgeier in the backfield together. I think they can do the same thing with Cordero Patterson, obviously, of course, but also you just have to factor in too, if an injury happens to Robinson, Allgeier is going to go back to being that running back that they were using him last year in that role. As a 5th round pick, and as a rookie, he finished over 1,000 yards rushing. And in the final 4 games last year, he had 2 130 plus rushing yard performances. So he understands the offense. He got comfortable towards the back end of the year. So again, I know Bijan Robinson's going to dominate the backfield there, backfield touches there in Atlanta, but I still think Allgeier is going to have a role, and I think he's definitely worthy of a bench roster spot, because if anything were to happen to Robinson, Allgeier all of a sudden slides in, and he's a good low-end RB2 to flex play in your lineup if anything were to happen to Robinson this year. Moving into the next guy on the list, I'm going with a veteran running back that was a vital piece of a lot of people's fantasy football runs last year, Jerick McKinnon. I don't think we should forget what he was doing as a fantasy running back from a receiving perspective last year, especially in those last 6 games. He actually had a touchdown in each of the last 6 games of the year. And obviously, I benefited from him in a couple leagues. He went from a guy that was on your bench, and you're playing him every week because he was getting you guys those receptions, he was producing with yards, and then obviously he had those touchdowns in each of those last 6 games. And then when you look at his production over the last 3 years from the running back perspective, since 2020, among all running backs, he had the 4th most receiving touchdowns. He's tied with the 5th most highest yards per receptions. He gets 8.5 yards a catch, and that's among all running backs with a minimum of 60 receptions. And then obviously this is nothing that really matters for fantasy purposes, but more of a team purpose for the Chiefs. He has the 7th most receiving first downs since 2020 as well. Now, obviously, it's going to be Isaiah Pacheco's backfield. He'll be the lead back, but it should be notable that he's currently recovering from hand and shoulder surgeries this offseason. Now, he's expected to be ready for the season opener, but if he's not 100%, maybe he can't handle that full workload. McKinnon could split a lot of touches in that first game for you, or to begin the year. But if he's not even ready, obviously McKinnon's going to probably more than likely be that opening day starter for the Chiefs if Pacheco's not ready. But I still view him that he's going to have I want to say significant role, but a good role within that Chiefs offense as a backup running back, because obviously they got Travis Kelce, right? But they don't have a legit proven number 1 wide receiver. I do think they're going to use all their wide receivers in a variety of way. And then obviously with McKinnon's receiving ability, he's going to be on the field during those 3rd down situations. And obviously when you get a receiving running back tied to Patrick Mahomes, it's always worth a shot to take him, especially with how late he's going in drafts and how he's been proven to be a fantasy relevant player during his time with KC. Moving into the last guy I'm targeting in the later rounds of the draft, I'm going with the rookie running back for the Tennessee Titans, Tyjae Spears, out of Tulane. He was selected in the 3rd round. So as I mentioned with Charbonnet, if guys get selected on the day 2 of the draft, they're going to probably be viewed that they're going to be contributors in some type of fashion in their year 1 in the NFL. Now, earlier this offseason, the Titans offensive coordinator, Tim Kelly, said they're going to give Spears as much as they can handle. Now, with Derrick Henry getting up there in age, I could see that Titans coaching staff wanting to spell and give Henry more breathers throughout the season so they can keep him healthy for that potential playoff run if they are in position to do so. And then another thing, obviously, you have to look at it with Hassan Haskins' situation. I think people should remember that just 3 weeks ago he got arrested for strangling his girlfriend. Now, they have not released him yet. Obviously, if that's proven true, they should immediately release Haskins. So with that being said, his future is in doubt with this team. And if Haskins does indeed end up getting released at some point over the next few weeks to a month, then Spears is going to be locked in as that backup running back. He's going to basically be the lightning to Henry's thunder. He's going to be because he does have that receiving ability. And then, if anything does happen to Henry, all of a sudden Spears is their starting running back, and you got like a potential, because of his explosive playmaking ability, like potentially like a high-end RB2 to at least a really good flex play for your lineup if anything were to happen to Henry. And I do think they're going to use him a lot, because another thing I should bring up is he did get hit with a medical flag where he tore his ACL in both of his knees, and then they said the reports are that he's been dealing with arthritis in his knees, and so his long-term future is in doubt, but they still took him in the 3rd round of the draft. But with that being said, if his long-term future is truly in doubt, obviously I don't know, I'm not reading the injury reports, I'm not a doctor, but that means the team's going to probably want to get the best value out of him as they can, as much as they can, with him as a 3rd round pick, and get him on the field early, just in case those knee issues of his does flare up at any point of his career. So yeah, those are 5 running backs that I have on my radar towards the back end of the draft. So if you did enjoy this video, guys, always share the video, retweet it, like the video, subscribe to my channel, give me a follow depending on what platform you're watching this on. The next video, like I mentioned, I'm doing this for every single position, so you guys will get my wide receiver video. I am planning on doing that Tuesday night, and then at some point later this week I will be doing my tight end video. And then for the future weeks, as we get closer to the season, I'll drop my rankings, and I'll do a variety of videos for you guys. But if you have any questions, hit the comment section. You guys can slide into a DM. I'm always here to give any type of advice that I can, and I'm always down to talk some ball. But again, like, subscribe, give me a follow. I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Peace out.